Fables of La Fontaine. The Wolf and the Fox. The Fox said to the Wolf one day, "My dear, I have but old tough hens for my poor cheer. One wearies of the food, but you feed well, and with less hazard, I, where people dwell, slink round while you keep prudently away. Teach me your trade, my noble comrade, pray. Make me the first of all my race who slew a good fat sheep and took him for a stew." "I shall not be ungrateful," the Wolf said. "'Tis well, I have a brother newly dead. Put on his skin." The Fox took it and obeyed. The Wolf then bid him not to be afraid of all the mastiffs of the shepherd's flock. The Fox learned all his maxims, the whole stock. First blundered much, then studied all he could, and lastly well the precepts understood. Just as he finished, there came passing by a drove of sheep. He runs at them, they fly. The new-made wolf spreads terror everywhere, and frightened bleatings fill the troubled ear. So in Achilles' arms Patroclus came. Mothers and old men shudder at his name. The sheep see 50 wolves, and in full cry, dogs, sheep, and shepherds to the village fly. Only one, as a hostage left behind, is by the villain seized. Upon the wind just then came crow of lusty Chanticleer. The pupil snapped the fowl, and without fear threw off his school dress and all his task forgot, and ran off heedless of his future lot. How useless was this counterfeiting then! The changed suit hindered not the watchful men. They follow in his track the selfsame day, and when they find him they are quick to slay. From your unequaled mind my poor muse drew the story and its moral, plain but true. Well, there you have it, the Wolf and the Fox. So, what's this all about? Well, the story is basically Fox is tired of eating tough old hens and slinking around where humans are because there's always danger that the humans will catch him. So he says to the wolf, "Teach me your ways. Make me the first fox who killed a sheep and made a stew out of it." So the wolf says, "Yeah, why not? My brother just died, so here's his skin, put it on." So the fox takes the skin, and the wolf starts to teach him how to be a wolf. So basically the wolf says, "Look, you can't be afraid of the mastiffs, which are the dogs that protect the flock. And, don't worry about anything. Just learn all the tricks of being a wolf and you'll be okay, and you should be able to fit right in." So the fox starts studying, and he learns the maxims of what it means to be a wolf. So the maxims are the important principles. So at first he makes a lot of mistakes, and then he studies more, and he starts to get better, and finally, with lots of hard work and study, he learns how to become a wolf. So just as he finishes and he's able to act exactly like a wolf, all of a sudden, a shepherd with his dogs and the sheep start coming by. So this fox, newly made into a wolf, wants to try his new skills. So he jumps out and scares them all. And all the sheep start to scream, and everybody runs away. So then he mentions Achilles and Patroclus. Well, what happened with Achilles and Patroclus? This is from the Trojan War. Achilles was the greatest warrior who ever lived. He was basically immortal because when he was a baby, his mother held him by his left heel and dipped him in the river Styx, which the river Styx is kind of a go-between between the land of humans and the land of the gods. It's basically you follow the river Styx. This is the river of forgetfulness. You forget that you're human. You enter into the underworld, and you're basically like a ghost type being in the land of the dead. Your immortal soul basically wanders around and different things happen, but you have to pass through the river Styx in order to do this. But when he was a baby, his mother dipped him headfirst into the river Styx and held on to his ankle and kept him submerged there. So it doesn't matter if he forget everything because he's just a baby. And when she takes him out and dries him off, he's basically immortal. He's totally invulnerable to any kind of weapons. If you cut him, he doesn't cut. If you stab him, you can't stab him. But where she was holding him by the ankle, that part stayed dry because otherwise she would have dropped him in the river and lost him. So his Achilles heel, this is where the term Achilles heel comes from. That was his only weakness. So eventually, make a long story short, Achilles gets killed when Paris throws a spear and hits him in the heel, and that's how he dies. Anyway, and Paris, if you remember, was that shepherd who had to choose which goddess was the most beautiful, and he chose Aphrodite, and she gave him Helen of Troy, the most beautiful woman in the world, and that's how the Trojan War started. And this is kind of towards the end of the Trojan War when Achilles is there. But anyway, what happens with Achilles is Achilles wanted something. I can't remember. I think it was he wanted an apology or something from King. The king refused to give him an apology, so he sat in his tent and refused to fight in the Trojan War. And he sat there and said, "No, I'm not fighting in this war until you apologize." Something like that. I think it had to do with Achilles wanted one of the wives or something that the king had, and the king refused. So Achilles said, "Well, fine, go fight your own war. I'm sitting here. You can't win this war without me. I'm the greatest warrior who ever lived." So anyway, he's sitting there pouting, refusing to fight. So his friend Patroclus comes in. This was his best friend since childhood. Later writers said that they were actually in a type of relationship, but there's no evidence that there was in the actual writings. This is what they thought later on. But anyway, to stay on point, Patroclus came and said, "Look, Achilles, we need you. We're going to lose this war. If you don't come out, their warriors are going to come and, we're going to be defeated." So basically, how it was set up was the ocean was here, then it was the beach. On the beach was all the enemies who were fighting the city of Troy. The city of Troy was inland, and in between the beach and the city was the plains where the war was fought. So the people who were fighting got up to Troy, and they were being beaten back towards the shore. And they were all worried that if Achilles doesn't come, these guys are just going to plow all the way to the ocean. So they wanted Achilles to drive them back towards the city of Troy. And Achilles said, "No, I'm not doing it." So Patroclus comes and says, "Look, if you don't do it, can I borrow your armor? You have very distinctive armor. I put on your armor. I ride out in the chariot. They see me. They think I'm you. They're going to run." So Achilles says, "Fine, take my armor. Go ahead." So this is what happens. Patroclus puts on Achilles' armor, much like the fox puts on the the wolf's skin, and chases all these warriors back towards Troy. So as he's in his chariot chasing them, everybody's afraid and they're running for their lives and they're trying to get back into the city of Troy. which had a wall around it. They wanted to go in through the wall, close the door, lock it, because they were all so worried about Achilles. But of course, this wasn't Achilles. This was Patroclus, much the same as all the shepherd and the sheep and the dogs thought that they were being attacked by a wolf, but in actuality, it was a fox wearing a wolf skin. So you see the similarities of the story here. So, anyway, the fox in the wolf skin chases them, they run, they try to get away, and they all get away, and they're all running off except for one sheep. So the fox catches this sheep and ties him up and has him as a prisoner, and he's going to kill the sheep. And he's like, oh my God, everything that this wolf taught me came true. I'm just like a wolf. I'm going to be the first fox that kills a sheep and makes stew out of it. I'm going to be the greatest fox that ever lived. I mean, to hell with these hens I eat. I can have this thing. And while he's thinking all this and everybody's running, they're all afraid, and they all run back to the village and they're watching because they're afraid the wolf's coming. And then, cock-a-doodle-doo, Chanticleer, the rooster. We haven't heard about Chanticleer in many, many, many fables. Way back a few months ago, there were a couple of fables we did that involved the rooster. And in the fable, the rooster is called Chanticleer. He sings clearly and loudly. So chant means sing, and clear means, clearly. So Chanticleer starts cock-a-doodle-doo. And of course, when this happens, he forgets that he's a wolf, and he jumps out of the wolf skin, and he runs and catches the rooster. And then he runs off with the rooster. But you see, when he was acting like a wolf, he forgot that as a fox, he had to be very sneaky and foxy and sneak around and not let the people see him, and then try to get the chickens and then run away. But of course, everybody's watching the wolf, and they see him jump out of the skin. They're like, what? That's not Achilles. That's not the wolf. That's just a fox. So much like the story, what happened was Patroclus in Achilles' armor chases everybody back, and then he forgets that he's not Achilles. He thinks, oh, look, they're afraid of me because I'm so powerful. And of course, once they realize it's not Achilles, they kill him, strip him from his armor, and leave him out on the field. And that's a story for another time. But the fox catches the rooster and runs away with the rooster, and then all the townspeople are like, what? And the shepherd's like, who? I'm not afraid of him. And they chase after fox, and of course they kill him. So basically, this video is getting quite long right now, but basically what this is telling us is, yes, you can study and try to be different from who you are, but at the end of the day, you are who you are. You have to learn who you are, know thyself. That was the maxim of Socrates, know thyself. And eventually you have to accept yourself for who you are. You have to accept your strengths and weaknesses. You have to accept kind of where you are in life. If you're not 6'6", you're probably not going to be a professional basketball player. Sure, there are exceptions. If you're not fast and athletic, you're not going to win the race type thing. You have to accept who you are. You have to love who you are. You have to learn your nature. Be yourself. Sure, you can be the best version of yourself. Sure, you can study and do many things that can improve who you are. But at the end of the day, you have to accept your limitations as well, or you have to accept your nature, the good points and the bad points, and realize that, you can only change so much. You can become the best version of yourself, but you can't become a wolf. You can't become the greatest warrior in the world who was dipped in the river Styx if, you're just a normal human. And if you forget this and you start to think that you're something other than you are, well, it's probably not going to end well for you. you're probably going to slip up. You're probably going to reveal who you truly are. So lying and pretending to be something you're not, whether you're aware you're telling a lie or you're convinced, it's much better to test yourself, prove who you are, learn your weaknesses and strengths. How do you do that? By trying things. See what you're good at, see what you're not good at. If you're not really good at painting, but you really love painting, then you can still paint, but you'll paint more as a hobby. You're probably not going to be as good as someone who has talent and hard work. If you are built with, we all have certain skills that we were kind of born with that we can develop. They're kind of like our natural talents. And you can ignore your natural talents and learn other things. And through hard work, yes, you can do all kinds of things. For instance, if you're a musician, some people are extremely talented. With their talent, they work very hard. They can become very fine musicians. If you don't have the talent, but you really work very hard, you can become an excellent musician. But if you had the talent as well, you'd be even better. But you have to know your limitations. So instead of the fox trying to be a wolf, he should have tried to be the best fox he could have been. And the same, you have to learn to accept yourself, you have to learn to love yourself, and learn where your strengths and weaknesses are, learn what you're interested in, try several things. Some things you're going to excel at, some things you aren't going to excel at. Some of the things that are very easy for you, you may not have a whole lot of interest in, but this is your natural talents. And some things that you really don't have the talent or ability for, you may really wish you could do, and you can try, and you can get to a certain level. But it's probably better to also work your natural talents and your natural abilities and try to develop those. Now, unfortunately, some jobs are in high demand and pay high salaries, and if you don't have a natural inclination for these, it's probably a good idea to learn some of these anyway, because money and things like that are very important in life. And some people have wonderful skills and abilities. You could be the natural world's greatest basket weaver, but you're not going to make much money doing that. Anyway, this video is getting extremely long, so I'm going to cut it short here. Something to think about. Who loves you, baby? This guy. Till next time. If you have any questions, any comments, anything you'd like to add down below, please. And just know that you're somebody's favorite person in this world, and be happy about that. Stay strong. Try to keep positive. I know a lot of us are going through tough times. Let's hang in there, and till next time, goodbye.